Quick question. Picture a millionaire in your head. What do they look like? If you imagined a luxury car, a designer suit, an oceanfront mansion, and an Instagram feed full of vacations, you're picturing what most people imagine. And according to one of the most exhaustive studies of actual millionaires ever conducted, you're almost completely wrong. In 1996, two researchers named Thomas Stanley and William Danko spent over 20 years interviewing thousands of real millionaires across America. What they found was so contrary to popular belief that their book, The Millionaire Next Door, became one of the best-selling personal finance books of all time. Today I'm breaking down what they actually discovered, the 7 traits that real wealthy people share, and the uncomfortable truth about people who look rich. Welcome to Earnings Per Page, where I distill the world's best finance and business books into under 10 minutes. If you want to skip 300 pages and keep the insights, hit subscribe. Let's get into it. First, the core finding. Stanley and Danko coined 2 terms that frame the entire book. PAW, prodigious accumulator of wealth. These are people whose net worth is high relative to their income and age. UAW, under accumulator of wealth. These people earn high incomes but have shockingly little net worth to show for it. Here's the shock. Many of the high income earners you'd assume are millionaires, doctors, lawyers, executives, are actually UAWs. They earn $300,000 a year and have $50,000 in the bank. Meanwhile, the actual millionaires often have boring jobs, modest homes, and you'd never guess from looking at them. Now, the 7 traits. Trait 1, they live well below their means, the single most consistent finding in the entire study. Real millionaires spend significantly less than they earn, often shockingly less. The book opens with the story of researchers preparing to interview actual millionaires for the first time. They expected fancy wines and luxury hors d'oeuvres. Instead, the millionaires drank cheap beer and ate basic snacks. Stanley and Danko write that millionaires don't usually look like millionaires. They look like the guy mowing his own lawn. Trait 2. They allocate time, energy, and money efficiently in ways conducive to building wealth. Translation, they're intentional, they budget, they track expenses, they have a financial plan, they aren't winging it. Most UAWs, the high-income earners with low net worth, don't budget at all. They assume that earning more will solve everything. It doesn't. Trait 3. They believe financial independence is more important than displaying high social status. This is the big one. UAWs spend money to look successful. PAWs spend money to be successful. The status car, the branded clothes, the membership at the country club. Real millionaires generally don't care about these things. They care about freedom, about options, about not having to work if they don't want to. As Stanley and Danko put it, most people have it all wrong about wealth in America. Wealth is not the same as income. Earning a high income and not saving it just makes you live a high lifestyle, not become wealthy. Trait 4. Their parents did not provide economic outpatient care. Translation, they didn't get bailed out. The book has a fascinating chapter on adult children of wealthy parents. Stanley and Danko find that the more financial help adult children receive from their parents for cars, mortgages, lifestyle, the less wealth those children typically build themselves. The handouts kill the muscle of self-sufficiency. The kids who built their own wealth from zero almost always outperform the kids who got constant help. Trait 5. Their adult children are economically self-sufficient. The flip side. Real millionaires raise kids who don't need them financially. They teach saving early. They don't subsidize lifestyles. And critically, they don't pay for things their kids should be paying for themselves. This is hard advice for parents to hear, but the data is clear. Trait 6. They are proficient in targeting market opportunities. Most actual millionaires in the study weren't doctors or executives. They owned businesses, specifically boring businesses, welding companies, pest control services, sanitation, mobile home parks, dry cleaning, industries that nobody glamorizes on Instagram, but that quietly print money. Stanley and Danko found that ordinary, unglamorous businesses produce far more millionaires per capita than tech, entertainment, or finance. Trait 7. They chose the right occupation. Closely related to Trait 6. The book argues most people pick their job based on prestige or social pressure, not based on what they're actually suited for and what generates real wealth. The accountant who became an accountant because his parents wanted prestige is rarely the millionaire. The accountant who genuinely loves the work and runs his own firm often is. Now, the uncomfortable conclusion. The biggest insight from this entire book is that wealth and the appearance of wealth are not just unrelated, they're often opposites. The neighbor with the new BMW, the ski boat, the kitchen renovation, and the second home, statistically, they're probably broke. The neighbor with the 12-year-old Toyota who never talks about money, often the actual millionaire. As the book famously puts it, big hat, no cattle. A Texas expression for someone who looks the part but has nothing to back it up. Now, what I disagree with, let me be honest. Some of this book has aged. First, the data is from the 1990s. Inflation, housing costs, and student debt have changed dramatically, making life below your means much harder for younger generations than it was for the millionaires Stanley interviewed. Second, the book leans heavily on the boring business owner path to wealth. While that path is still valid, modern wealth building also includes index fund investing, tech equity, and online businesses, which the book doesn't really cover. Third, the framework can come across as judgmental. Yes, frugality builds wealth, but spending money on experiences, family, and quality of life isn't inherently bad, and the book sometimes implies it is. Final verdict. Should you read The Millionaire Next Door? Yes, especially if your assumptions about wealthy people are based on social media. The core insight is bulletproof and timeless. Wealth is built quietly. Most people who look rich aren't, and most people who are rich don't look it. My rating, 8 out of 10. Some chapters drag with statistics, but the central message is one of the most important you'll read in personal finance. If this changed how you see wealth, subscribe to Earnings Per Page. Next week, I'm breaking down Atomic Habits by James Clear. Atoms, James is the productivity book that sold over 20 million copies, and whether it actually deserves the hype. Drop a comment with which finance book you want me to cover after that. See you in the next one.